Some games are remembered for their mechanics. Others are remembered for their atmosphere, when the world around you feels strange, beautiful, or unsettling. When every level feels like a small journey. In this video, I'll be talking about some of the most atmospheric 3D platformers, games where the main focus isn't difficulty, but the feeling of exploring a world that makes you want to check every corner. Let's start with Bramble the Mountain King. This is a story that first looks like a beautiful fairy tale, and then suddenly turns into folk horror. The game plays heavily with contrast. Cozy, storybook-like landscapes sit right next to the darker side of Scandinavian folklore. The most memorable moments happen when you're thrown face to face with mythological creatures in boss fights. These encounters aren't about combos or damage numbers, they're about timing. Hiding at the right moment, reading an attack, surviving the panic, and pushing forward. Another thing that works really well is the pacing. The game is short and focused. Instead of filling the world with hundreds of activities, it moves from scene to scene, relying on strong visuals, sound design, and constant tension. Is a third-person horror game that doesn't rely on jump scares, but on a constant sense of unease. You play as a girl named Sally who is searching for her missing cousin and suddenly finds herself in a distorted version of her hometown. The streets are empty, the school looks like something out of a nightmare, and strange creatures wander the halls. The core gameplay revolves around stealth. Most of the time you're hiding, avoiding enemies, and carefully watching their patrol routes. If confrontation becomes unavoidable, Sally can use her flashlight to weaken or scare off the monsters. The game focuses heavily on atmosphere and exploration. School corridors, ruined streets, and strange locations slowly reveal the story of the town and what happened to Sally's cousin. The puzzles stay simple, so the pacing never slows down. Omno is an atmospheric 3D adventure built around exploration and the feeling of a journey. You travel across vast environments, collect ancient energy, and gradually unlock new ways to move through the world. The locations constantly change, and the overall pace stays calm and relaxing. The platforming and puzzles are designed not to punish the player, but to gently guide you forward. Instead of difficult challenges, the game rewards curiosity. Around every corner you might find a shortcut, a hidden path, or a new ability that makes moving through the world even smoother. As the game progresses, exploration becomes faster and more fluid. That sense of flow is what makes Omno stand out. Lost in Random is a dark fairy tale set in a strange world divided into 6 kingdoms, each ruled by a number. The environments look like twisted puppet sets. Crooked houses, narrow streets, and bizarre inhabitants create the feeling of a fairy tale where something clearly went wrong. Combat is built around a mix of real-time action, a card system, and the role of a living dice companion. During battles, you collect energy to play cards and decide when to risk rolling the dice, which can dramatically change the outcome of a fight. Over time, you unlock new cards and strategies, allowing you to gradually shape the combat style to your liking. Pumpkin Jack is a classic old-school style 3D platformer filled with Halloween atmosphere. You play as Jack, a skeleton with a pumpkin for a head, sent by the devil himself to restore chaos in the human world. The locations look like a festive nightmare: foggy graveyards, dark villages, haunted forests, and ancient castles. The gameplay is built around simple but varied platforming. You jump across levels, fight enemies, solve small puzzles, and occasionally take part in special sequences like chase scenes or mini-challenges. The game constantly throws new situations at you, so the levels rarely feel repetitive. The Midnight Walk is a dark adventure that immediately stands out thanks to its unique style. The entire world looks like a living stop-motion animation. Characters and environments resemble a twisted puppet fairy tale, where every location feels slightly strange and unsettling. You travel through this world together with a small companion creature, using light as your main survival tool. Fire helps you open new paths, solve puzzles, and defend yourself from strange creatures hiding in the darkness. Instead of focusing on complex mechanics, the game leans heavily on atmosphere, strange characters, eerie environments, and the constant feeling that something unexpected might be waiting just around the corner. Journey. Here you play as a traveler in a red robe who begins a journey across a vast desert toward a distant mountain on the horizon. The world around you is almost empty, but that silence and sense of scale are exactly what make the journey feel special. The gameplay is built around smooth movement across the landscape, sliding down sand dunes, gliding with the help of a magical scarf, and exploring ancient ruins. As you progress, the scarf becomes longer, allowing you to stay in the air longer and unlocking new ways to move. One of the most unusual features of the game is that you can encounter another player during your journey. You can't talk to each other, only communicate with simple signals, but even that is enough to travel part of the path together. The Pathless. This is a game about speed and flow. You play as a hunter exploring a mysterious island, trying to lift a curse placed on ancient spirits. The world is open and gives you very little direction, so most of the time you simply follow your curiosity. The main mechanic is movement. To gain speed, you shoot arrows at special targets along the way. Every successful hit keeps your momentum going, and over time movement turns into a continuous flow. You glide across forests, ruins, and mountains. As you explore the island, you free giant guardian spirits, and each encounter turns into a large, cinematic confrontation. Sable. Here you play as a girl named Sable who sets out on her first great journey across a vast desert planet. There's no clear objective, just a world filled with ancient ruins, strange settlements, and forgotten technology. To travel across the landscape, Sable uses a hoverbike that allows you to freely explore deserts, canyons, and abandoned structures. Along the way, you meet different clans and complete small tasks, gradually discovering new parts of the world and learning more about its culture. The game is inspired by classic science fiction comics, which makes the world look like a living illustration. There is almost no combat here. It's more of a calm, exploratory journey. Sword of the Sea. In this game, you play as a lone traveler moving across a vast world on a unique hover sword. You glide across sand dunes and ancient ruins, while the desert landscapes look like a frozen ocean and the dunes turn into waves you can surf across. As the journey continues, the world slowly begins to change. Ancient mechanisms awaken, water returns to the dried lands, and new routes open up even larger areas to explore. Movement becomes faster and smoother, turning exploration into a constant flow. With very little dialogue, beautiful landscapes, and a strong musical score, the game creates the feeling of a mysterious journey. Sea of Solitude is an atmospheric adventure where the story is told through the world itself. You play as a girl named Kay who finds herself in a flooded version of her city. Streets are underwater, houses stand empty, and giant creatures wander the ruins, representing her inner fears. Most of the journey takes place in a small boat. You explore flooded neighborhoods, climb onto rooftops, solve simple puzzles, and gradually unlock new areas of the city. As you progress, the events that led Kay into this strange world slowly become clearer. The game focuses less on complex gameplay and more on atmosphere and emotional storytelling through its unusual world. A Juggler's Tale. This is a dark fairy tale presented like a puppet show. You play as a marionette named Abby, who tries to escape from a circus and find her way to freedom. The entire world looks like a stage, wooden sets, soft lighting, and the constant feeling that an unseen puppeteer is watching every move. The main mechanic revolves around the strings that control Abby. They constantly affect movement, getting caught on objects, limiting jumps, and becoming part of the puzzles. Because of this, even simple sections turn into small challenges where you have to carefully guide the character through obstacles. Throughout the journey, a narrator comments on the events, turning the whole adventure into a dark and atmospheric fairy tale. Stray. In this game, you explore the world through the eyes of an ordinary cat. The story takes place in an abandoned cyberpunk city populated by robots, where narrow alleyways, neon signs, and rain-soaked streets create the feeling of a living but slightly melancholic world. Movement is built around feline agility. You jump across rooftops, climb pipes, crawl through ventilation shafts, and find paths where a human simply couldn't go. During the journey, the cat befriends a small drone that helps communicate with robots and slowly uncover the story behind this strange city. The game constantly rewards curiosity. You can turn into a dark alley, climb onto a rooftop, or simply watch the quiet routines of the robot inhabitants. Arise, a simple story, is an atmospheric adventure where every location reflects memories from the life of the main character. You travel through symbolic worlds that represent important moments from his past. The main mechanic revolves around time. The player can speed it up, slow it down, or rewind it to change the environment and find a way forward. Snow might melt, water can freeze, and broken structures can reconnect again. Because of this system, the levels feel like living scenes from memories, gradually revealing the story without using many words. Submerged, Hidden Depths is a calm, atmospheric adventure set in a flooded city. Massive buildings rise from the water, rooftops are covered in vegetation, and the streets have long turned into canals. The world feels abandoned, but at the same time strangely beautiful. You explore the city using a small boat, approaching ruined buildings and climbing onto their rooftops. Most of the gameplay revolves around exploration, finding paths, and solving light environmental puzzles that open access to new areas. Here the focus is simply on the journey itself, exploring the ruins of the city and slowly uncovering its story through the places you discover. Somerville is an atmospheric adventure that tells the story of an ordinary family during an alien invasion. It begins in a quiet home, but very quickly the world starts to change. Strange objects appear in the sky, and familiar places turn into dangerous, destroyed landscapes. You travel through fields, towns, and ruined buildings, trying to find a path forward and understand what is happening around you. Along the way, you encounter puzzles and situations where you need to use objects in the environment or interact with mysterious alien energy. The game uses very little dialogue, so the story is mostly told through the environment and the events happening around you. The Little Nightmares series is a series of dark adventures where the world is seen through the eyes of a small child. Enormous rooms, disturbing adults, and grotesque creatures create the feeling that you've entered a twisted version of a familiar world where everything is far too big and far too dangerous. Gameplay combines platforming, stealth, and simple puzzles. The characters are too small to fight enemies, so most of the time you're hiding, running away, and looking for alternate routes. The chase sequences and sudden encounters are what create the most intense moments. With very little dialogue, strange character designs, and unsettling music, every location becomes memorable. REANIMAL is a dark adventure from the creators of Little Nightmares. The game follows a brother and sister trying to escape from a terrifying island filled with strange and disturbing creatures. The gameplay focuses on exploration, platforming, and solving puzzles. The characters must make their way through ruined villages, dark forests, and abandoned buildings while avoiding monsters and searching for a way forward. Many challenges require cooperation between the two characters, so the game can be played either solo or in co-op. The world feels grim, unsettling, and unpredictable, while its strange creatures and dark environments create a constant sense of danger. Psychonauts 2, is a colorful and unusual 3D platformer where the player travels not only through the real world, but also through the minds of different characters. The main hero, Raz, is a young psychic agent who helps people by literally diving into their thoughts and memories. Each level is its own world inside someone's mind. Because of that, the environments constantly change, from strange theatrical stages to surreal cities and abstract dreamlike spaces. This variety makes every level feel unique and full of creative ideas. The gameplay mixes classic platforming, psychic abilities, and exploration. As you progress, Raz unlocks new powers that help solve puzzles and discover hidden areas. The Last Campfire is a calm, atmospheric adventure about a small creature named Ember trying to find a path through a strange and melancholic world. Along the way, the hero meets lost souls and helps them overcome their fears and doubts. The gameplay focuses on exploring different locations and solving environmental puzzles. You move between small areas where interacting with objects, and the environment opens new paths and helps other characters. The journey feels like a quiet fairy tale, where every stop along the way tells a small story. These are some truly atmospheric 3D journeys, games where it's not just about mechanics, but about the world itself, its mood, its music, and the feeling of traveling through it. Some of them are unsettling, others are calming, and some simply give you a chance to get lost for a few hours in a beautiful and unusual world. The Image Game Channel was with you. Have a nice day.